Welcome, folks. Welcome, folks. This is Book Talk with Corbin. I am your host, talking to you today about, it's about a brother. I cannot pronounce his name properly. Rizza, Islam, Rizza. This is his first name, last name, Islam, Islam. Going to talk a little bit about his book, Message to the Millineals. He is someone affiliated with the Nation of Islam, but I have really, even if he wasn't affiliated with the Nation of Islam, I would definitely have picked up this book because I've seen this guy's interviews on YouTube. Go to YouTube, put in the search engine, and put his name into the search engine. Check out some of his interviews and comments and things of that nature. Fascinating young man, absolutely fascinating young man. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about his book. Again, Message to the Millineals. I want to highly recommend people get that book. And the title of my topic today is, Mr. Islam, is he a public intellectual or an anti-Semite? And, but before I do that, let me say this. Many of you probably already know the Biden administration has decided to establish like a task force on anti-Semitism. So they're going to be talking about a very clear problem. I mean, anti-Semitism is not institutionalized, in the United States. It's not systemic in the United States. What they're talking about is the anti-Semitism that is expressed on social media, anti-Semite organizations, etc. They are not talking about institutional anti-Semitism. They're not talking about systemic anti-Semitism because it doesn't exist. It just flat out does not exist. It's not here in the United States. But people who have anti-Semitic ideas, thoughts, comments, political programs, narratives, yes, they exist, okay? There's no doubt about that. Secondly, there are personal attacks against Jews. That's just documented. It's clear. There's all sorts of different attacks against Jews, physical attacks, threats, acts of terrorism, etc. Yeah, that's clear. I don't think it happens too much in the United States, but one incident is one incident too many. There's no doubt it's fully documented. A Jewish brother, white Jewish brother walking down the street may have a yarmulke and boom, he's attacked. It doesn't happen all day, every day, but it does happen enough to where all of us should say, hey, cut it out. That's ridiculous. That's insane. But so, I fully support that task force. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. But here are some of my responses, and here's some of my comments. First of all, I want to say this. I know a lot of black folk say when they hear, they're doing a task force in anti-Semitism. And so then a lot of black folks say, well, when are they going to do a task force on white supremacy, white racism? That's ridiculous. That's stupid. Let me dial that back. Come on, folks, that's not the way to respond. It's just not the way to respond. It's really quite childish to respond that way. Of course, it's sort of like I'll never forget, there are times when my father would discipline me and I said, well, Rebecca did it. She's my little sister. Rebecca did it. He said, boy, I'm not talking to her. I'm talking to you. I'm asking you to deal with this. I'm asking you to take responsibility. So, we don't need this sort of like this childish thing of, when are you going to talk about us? When are you going to do things for us? First of all, if you're all that concerned about documenting and talking about the African Holocaust or black slavery and all that kind of stuff, do it yourself. Do for self. I remember years and years ago, the African People's Socialist Party, they did tribunals. And they had posters the whole bit, and they would actually have people like judge. I think O'Malley used to tell it was like a judge. And different black folk would come up and say, hey, I was discriminated against on the workforce. And, hey, my great uncle or whatever was lynched. Just things like that. He didn't ask the United States government to do it. He didn't ask the White House to do it. His organization just did it, okay? Malcolm X one time took a petition of sorts to the United Nations. Well, let me take that back. I know there was a petition taken to the United Nations where it's a group of black folks saying, hey, here are the crimes that's happening to us within the United States, the human rights violations. Again, they didn't ask the U.S. government to do it. They didn't ask for any particular administration to do it. They just did it on themselves. And as a people, that's what we should do. If that's something that concerns you, if you feel that there's something that's not fully documented, hey, you do it yourself. Don't wait for the Biden administration to do it. And let's face the facts, folks. Anti-Semitism is not in the interest of black folk in the United States as a collective body, as a social force, as a national culture. It's not. It's just not. And denying that the Holocaust happened, that's not in our best interest. It's not in our best interest to embrace something that's just absolutely ridiculous. Now, here are my concerns about this Biden task force. I have no problem whatsoever in people saying we need to battle anti-Semitism. I'm with that 110%. I'm with it, no problem. But I'm not with censorship. I'm not with economic warfare. I'm not with slander and character assassination. And sometimes, all in the name of fighting anti-Semitism, that's what comes up. Hey, we need to ban this book, or we need to censor this book, or we need to put warning labels on this book, or we need to slander people like Kyrie Irving or Desmond Tutu, the late, great Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And my attitude is that no, I'm not doing that. It's like, I'm just flat out. I'm not with that. I'm not with censorship. I'm not with banning books. I'm not with character assassination. I'm not with buck breaking. And I'm not with lying about people. I'm just flat out lying about people. I'll never forget when I was living up in Connecticut, I was keeping in touch with the Nation of Islam. I was reading a newspaper here and there. And then I heard some speech by Farrakhan. I thought, well, it's interesting. And then I heard, it wasn't soon after that, it was reported in the news that Farrakhan called Adolf Hitler great. He was praising Adolf Hitler. That's a lie. And it has shocked me that people would lie like that. And in fact, I was so shocked by it, I said, well, this newspaper eventually, once they actually read the whole speech, listen to the whole speech and see the quote in context, they'd see, oh man, we got it wrong. That newspaper never recanted it. So I wrote a letter to the editor and I said, look, this is what was said. This is, I put the quote in context. Farrakhan wouldn't say anything close to praising Hitler. Now, to this newspaper's credit, they did publish the letter to the editor. But I was like, man, I was just sort of shocked that people would just sort of lie like that. And it was a lie, folks. I'm not talking about interpretation. I'm talking about it was a lie. I'm talking about that quote was just misconstrued. And it was nothing but, as far as I was concerned, nothing but deliberate. So, I'm not with that. That's not the way to fight anti-Semitism. Yeah, we need to fight anti-Semitism. You better believe it. But that's not the way to do it. Censorship, banning books, etc., that's not the way to do it. We don't need to, combat one stupid thing with another stupid thing. Anti-Semitism is too serious. And so I just wanted to put that out there, those 3 comments out there. Now let's talk a little bit about Message to Millennials by Rizza Islam. And so is he a public intellectual? Yeah, I'm very impressed with some of what this brother talks about. I'm very impressed with it. Secondly, is he an anti-Semite? No, I do not believe he is. If you're ever to ask Mr. Islam, are you an anti-Semite? You really need to ask him before you put that question to him. Well, he would probably respond by saying, well, what's an anti-Semite or what's a Semite? His understanding of what's a Semite is, or, is different from yours. I guarantee you that. Another thing too, you need to know. This is why Kyrie Irving said, "I can't be anti myself." Kyrie Irving did make that comment. I cannot be anti myself. And a lot of white folks, probably the vast majority of them, don't understand why he'd say something like that. Well, he's black. He's not a Jew. He's black. What does he mean? What's he saying? Well, the Nation of Islam and a whole lot of other black folk, they do not believe. They believe that the original Jews, Hebrews, Israelites, were black folk. And that many of the black folk in the United States of America today are descendants from, the 12 tribes of Israel and all. Now, I'm not going to go heavy into that theology and trying to express it to you, but I will say this. Mr. Islam, if you ask him who are the original Jews, he would tell you black folk. So when these terms are thrown out there, they mean something different to him than what they do to you. So you need to be more point blank in asking him, hey, do you hate Jews? Then he probably might respond, well, who are the Jews? It's not like he doesn't know, but he's saying, who are you saying are the Jews? And then, he would educate you, and then you would take the conversation from there. Now, let's get down to it. What we're really talking about when they ask that question are the white Jews, the white folks who are part of Jewish culture, etc., and Zionist Jews. And he said, oh, okay. Now, you've clearly identified to him. Who are you talking about? And I believe his response would be, no, I don't hate them. I don't wish upon anybody persecution and violence or genocide. And he doesn't. He doesn't. You look at his personal life, you look at all his statements, he doesn't. What he does expose is that, look, if X, Y, and Z is happening, if this is happening, then you just need to be clear on accepting, well, this is happening. And he's not trying to say, at least in my opinion, based on what I've read so far, Jews are evil and they're trying to take over the world and things of that nature. So I don't believe he's an anti-Semite. Now, if somebody else wants to come along and make the counter argument, I'm more than willing to listen. But here's my thing. As a black man, I know from personal experience, you need to go check things out for yourself. Particularly when someone starts throwing around a serious label like that. Oh, he's an anti-Semite. He's a neo-Nazi. Folks, I knew Desmond Tutu. You go talk to his children right now and you say my name, they know who you're talking about. I knew that man. I was in South Africa several times when it was under racist minority rule. And I was in his house many, many, many times for long periods of time. He was not an anti-Semite. And anyone who says he was an anti-Semite is either ignorant or they're lying to you. So I know to go to the source and you find things out for yourself. And I don't want to dwell on that too much, but this is one thing I like about Mr. Islam, Rizza Islam, is that he has a tendency, he'll go to the source. He'll go check things out for himself. Look, here in his book, page 95, a lot of folks, a lot of black folk, they vote Democratic Party. They're sort of like part of the left wing moderate wing of the Democratic Party. Of course, the Democratic Party, oh my God, they have completely and totally embraced Planned Parenthood in their campaign to kill as many unborn children as possible. That's just reality. It's just a fact. And that includes many black ministers, particularly in urban areas. It's a fact. It's just a fact. People like now Senator, what's his name, Warnock, he's a minister, a minister of a great church there in Atlanta. He fully embraces abortion and the alphabet people's narrative. Now, how he sort of reconciles that with the scriptures is beyond me. But I heard, now I haven't gotten this verified yet, but I am trying to get it verified. I heard that Warnock, a minister now and a senator from Georgia, he actually made the argument that Jesus would perform abortions, or Jesus would bless abortions, or Jesus would support abortion. I mean, he said that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what Jesus? I mean, who? What Jesus are you talking about? You talking about that brother who lives down the block, or who are you talking about? And it's like, reconcile that, what you just said, with the Jesus of the Bible. I was just finding that amazing. But hey, a lot of black ministers locally, they scared of them white girls. They fear Planned Parenthood. They fear Planned Parenthood more than they fear the judgment and wrath of God. They don't have the kahunas to stand up against them white women and their whole rant and raving about abortion. They don't have it in them. They fear those white women in Planned Parenthood. Fear them. Fear them more than they fear the wrath of God and the judgment of God. They put that abortion agenda above the gospel of Jesus Christ. And some people say, oh man, you're sort of exaggerating. Hey, I'll go toe to toe with any of them. Put their Bible down, put my Bible down. We use the King James Version. And I'll say to the brother, with all due love and respect, I'll say to that pastor, that minister, brother, from the scriptures, you show me justification for abortion. I'm here to listen. But here's something where in the book, Message to the Millennials by Mr. Islam. This is on page 95. Listen up. This is a quote. Do you really think that Planned Parenthood just happens to be primarily within black and brown inner city neighborhoods? ? There are 75% to 80% of them placed in inner city communities just to help you. Do you really believe that they provide all of the contraceptives you need, from birth control pills to the birth control shot to condoms, diaphragms, the cervical cap, to the contraceptive coil, to the contraceptive implant, even the uterine or IUD system, out of the kindness of their hearts? Do you truly believe that all of this is to help you and to empower us, to give us the so-called freedom of physical expression? ? To free women from the shackles of childbearing and motherhood, and to free fathers from the pain of fatherhood and, child rearing? ? Could you look at the facts and formulate a pure and logical answer to these questions? ? And last but not least, they give us the greatest options for abortion. Is it truly to help us, or is it to annihilate us? ? Whoa. That's all I got to say to that. That brother, I mean, he put some powerful questions to you. And here's what I find interesting. He's a Muslim. He's saying that. He's a Muslim. He's saying that. And I would say to any Christian, same thing. He's a black Muslim. I'd say the same thing to any black Christian. Same questions. Really? Let's look at this logically. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at the history of Planned Parenthood. Let's talk about Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, the woman who was, just a major voice in the whole abortion movement. Let's look at that. Let's talk about that. Let's think. Let's think. I know, again, some black folk, particularly in this city, Louisville, they fear them white girls. They fear them. They fear them. Them white girls they never get to pick up a shotgun, a lynch rope, or a Klan outfit. They got those Negroes in line. They killing black and brown babies left and right with impunity, and getting paid to do it. Getting paid to do it and getting praised for doing it. They're getting paid to do it and they're getting praised to do it. And you have very few black ministers here in the city of Louisville who have the kahunas to stand up and say, hell no. That goes completely and totally contrary to the Word of God. And it's in no way of any great short-term or long-term benefit for the black community. You could name those kind of black ministers on your left hand with two broken fingers. The rest of them scared. So let me go back to this quick review here. Check this book out, Message to the Millineals. Check this brother out. I don't agree with everything he says or does, but I do believe, check him out. His publishing company is Intellectual Extremist Publishing. It does not say exactly when this book was released, but it hasn't been out that long. I think maybe a year. And you may have to, if you can't get it through Amazon.com, you may have to go to his website and get it. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Go to Facebook page, put in Rizza Islam, and he also has a Twitter handle, at Islam Rizza. And check him out. Check him out for yourself. Folks, thank you so much. You know me. I'll be in touch. Be putting my stuff out there. And check out my webpage, booktalkwithcorbin.com. I got all sorts of stuff out there. Please check it out.